Hi everybody, it's Franny, and today we are going to fix kind of a silly little problem with the i8. Several of you have written in and let me know that the back wheels are actually on backwards on this car. Kind of a funny thing, they're directional. So I guess last time tires were put on this car, they swapped them left to right and didn't really realize it. So we're going to fix that today. That's a pretty simple thing. But also what I want to do is ceramic coat these wheels. So since I've got to take them off anyways, I'm going to go ahead and wash them really carefully and buff them. And then I'm going to ceramic coat them and put them back on. And all of this is kind of in prep for next month in February. We're going to be taking the i8 down to a place to get it detailed and then ceramic coated, and we're going to get some plastic protective film up front. So you remember the videos for the Ferrari where we went down to Detail Force? That's where we're going. That is like one of the best shops. They're just awesome. I really like them. So we're going to be taking this down, but I want to get the wheels done first before I take it down there. I've got both of my front wheels chalked, but I want to go ahead and break these bolts loose just a bit. They're pretty darn tight. I went and checked the spec on them, and it's 105 pound-feet. These things are really on there. So I want to break them loose before the car's in the air. I don't want to be putting that kind of force on it. Rather be doing that with the wheel on the ground. And I'm not going to loosen them up. I just want to break them loose just a little bit before we jack up the car. Well, that was interesting. The bolts on this wheel were quite a bit easier to get off than the ones on the other side. So I don't think these were quite torqued to spec. Always a good idea to check the wheel bolt torques on these wheels, but yeesh, huh? So, all right, now that we've got our wheels loosened up, we can go ahead and jack up the car. I've got the jacks placed ready to rock and roll here, and I've got my jack stand over here all ready to go as well. So I'm gonna kind of inch it up on each side and get it up sort of straight. I don't want it tilted over one side and then try to pull it up on the other side. That always kind of scares me. There we go. All right. I'm gonna lower it down just a little bit. I just want it sort of just barely sitting on that jack stand. Okay, we have the car up in the air. It's still supported by the two jacks on each side. Got our jack stand underneath there just in case, and it's set. It doesn't have a lot of weight on it, but it's just set at this point. Anyway, I think this is gonna work just fine. Go ahead and get the wheels off and get to cleaning them. I'm going to start by hitting it with a little bit of Adam's wheel cleaner here. Just going to kind of soak the whole thing. This will loosen up any iron particulates or any kind of really bad road crap on this. Now the fronts aren't as bad, but the inside of these barrels are always terrible. So we've got a nice even coat all the way around in here. And as this starts to work, it'll start to turn red. And that's an indication that it's removing all of the iron particles. While this is marinating, I'm going to go ahead and start up my soapy water buckets. I've got two. I've got kind of a two bucket wash. I still even do that for the wheels. So a little bit of soap. That red shows us that our brake cleaner is actually working and eating up or loosening up all the iron deposits in there. Now that we've let our wheel cleaner work for a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and get my soapy bucket here and start cleaning the inside of this wheel. Now this is a nice brush. It's fairly soft, and these are kind of natural-ish fibers. I don't think they're actually natural, but they're fairly soft. So there's not any chance I'm going to actually scratch the rim. Now this is really dirty. We can dunk it in our bucket, or for the first one, I think I just kind of wash it out with a hose because it's really bad. All right, back into our soapy water. Go around some more. Make sure you get the tire. Okay, look at that, huh? You can use our smaller brush to get into some of the little crevices and inside here, the wheel hub and all that. In any areas that the big brush just won't get to. Maybe down in this crevice as well. And then finally we can hit it with our big big mitt. Just as one final run through to make sure we've got everything. All right. At this point, I'll go ahead and just wash everything off. Okay. With the wheel all rinsed, it's a good time to just sort of look around a little bit and look for any obvious damage to the wheel. I did find this scratch here, which is not so great, huh? That looks pretty bad. Just not much we can do about that. It's all the way down to the metal. It does look, just by how rough this is, this feels like a bit of overspray too. So that's, you hear that? That's kind of interesting, huh? The rest of it all looks good. You can tell they've never had any real product on this, and certainly by that sound. Our next step is going to be a little bit of clay bar. I like to keep the clay in actually some warm water. It makes it super soft and easy to work with. With all of this rough texture on here, it definitely needs to have a little clay bar action done, huh? We've got our soapy water over here, which we can use as a lubricant. Oh, and I can feel it taking some of this off at least. That feels so much better. Let's see if we can see it. It looks like it's sort of a metallic overspray or something on this. Maybe this wheel was replaced at one point. We also have this down here we need to get rid of as well. This is from an old weight. So we'll work that off. There's some more goo over here. Not a lot, but you can definitely see something on this, huh? At least a little bit. Fold our clay over a couple of times. All right, so we did find some particulates there. That's a good thing. That's what this clay is supposed to do. I can use a plastic razor blade to get the worst of this off. I love these things. They won't scratch anything, yet they really seem to do a pretty good job getting stuff like this off. You'd never use a real metal razor blade. You just scratch the crap out of them, or the paint. Okay, this one is a little bit more difficult though. So I'm using, going back and forth here, I'm using a little bit of rubbing alcohol to sort of wet this down a bit, loosen up the adhesive. I want to be careful because rubbing alcohol can be a little rough on the paint if it sits on there long enough. And then I use my plastic razor blade and just sort of peel it up from the sides. And that seems to be working. You want to use the least amount of force necessary, really. And always being careful not to scratch the paint. These white ones are really hard to get off, huh? All right, finally off. After a final cleaning, I'm ready to start the polishing. I'm using Adam's 4-inch mini swirl killer in his orange pad and polish. This does a great job at pulling out any contaminants and leaves a really nice shine. We've got to get a lot of that overspray out, and this will do a really good job at that. Want to also hit the inside of the tines while we're back there and give them a polish. Now, after cleaning this off a bit and checking it out, I noticed that there still was a bit of overspray there. I can feel it through the gloves. The gloves are wonderful for that. So because of that, time for a second application just to go through and get the final bits off. It's really just a matter of just hitting it as many times as you need to get it perfectly clean. When you're ready to do the front, pop out that center hub and begin work on the front. I can get to the surface of those tines pretty easily, and the edges as well, but this wheel's pretty intricate, so I can only do so much with the polisher. You always want to check your work. Don't go too far without going back and seeing what you've actually got done. It looks very nice, very shiny. All right, well, we'll just hit a few of these areas in here by hand. We're not going to get a lot of polishing, obviously, but we will get any dirt and grime that might still be there. This stuff is great for taking that off. And it feels very smooth. Do you hear the coyotes? Holy cow, huh? Well, that was fun, huh? Well, I think our wheel looks great, actually, and you know, it's just going to get super dirty again in about 2 or 3 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ceramic coat these wheels. Now, this is GYEON or GYEON, however you want to pronounce it. This is their special Q2 specifically for wheels. And I'm going to go ahead and do this. I haven't used this kit before, so this is a first for me. I've used Adam's, and I found Adam's super easy to use, but I had this and it's been sitting for quite a while, and I thought, well, I better go ahead and try and use it. I'm going to start with the inside barrel of the wheel, just in case I'm not happy with how it comes out. Then it's also the easiest to rebuff it off if there was a problem. But all right, so let me go ahead and get started on this, and we'll see how this works out. One critical step before we apply our ceramic coat is to prep the surface, and it really just means make it stupid squeaky clean. So the GYEON, this doesn't come with a cleaner, actually. I think that's something else you have to buy. Even though this is kind of a kit, it comes with a lot of other stuff, but doesn't seem to have the cleaner. You could try alcohol, but they even say in the instructions that alcohol is just not going to cut the cheese. So I have some coating prep from Adam's, and this stuff works really well. This comes in his kit for his ceramic coat. Now the trick is just to get it super duper clean, so take your time. And I like to spray it onto the cloth first and then onto the surface. Otherwise, it kind of goes everywhere. So you just want to get every single little surface here, all the way around. And what we're doing is getting off all the buffing compound and any residue from anything, actually, that's on here. I'm using a brand new towel as well, just to make sure it's going to be absolutely clean. Okay, at this point we're all set, we're ready to go. We're going to be using our GYEON here. I have to open this. Now the kit comes with a foam applicator and then these little felt pads that you use. Now you can only use these once. Once you've actually used them and the ceramic coating is dried on it, it's a ceramic. It will literally turn into a crystalline substance. So you want to toss these when you're done with them. You don't ever want to use one twice. Another bit here is that they give you a little gas mask here. This is a really good idea. Ceramic coating is literally that, and when it sets up, it will set up in your lungs just as easily as it will set up on this rim, so you don't want that. These are a little funny, huh? So you wrap your little pad around the foam applicator here. And then all we do is we just go ahead and just put a little bit along here. There we go. So now we just wipe it on. Just keep track of where you are and what you're doing. Do the big part of the barrel first. Just to kind of get going here and kind of understand what we're doing. It's a little slimy, kind of. I guess as it goes on you can feel it drag. Add a little more here. And we'll move up and get this area up here all the way around. All right, yeah, that looks like that's going on well. We'll get this bottom bit all the way around, which I think we kind of already got, but we'll do it again. Now for our tines down here. Now we've got an edge right above the tines here that we have to get all the way around. So I'm actually going to take this off because I can't really reach under there with it. And go ahead and do that by hand. Maybe it goes without saying that you should always wear gloves with this as well. You might as well try to get anything you think you won't be able to get from the other side. Now this has to sit for 2 to 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and just go ahead and do the other side, and then this side will be ready to buff clean. I'm going to flip over the applicator here, add some more. Yeah. Okay, well I think that's going to be it for the ceramic. Want to make sure we put the top back on and get that nice and tight. Well, I think we can let this sit for a little bit and then we'll go ahead and buff it off, see if there's any areas we missed. Now one thing to look for with this coating is as it sets up it'll kind of rainbow if it's thin enough. So that's one thing to look for. I'm looking around, it still looks a little wet, so I'm going to let it sit for a little bit longer, but I can see it rainbowing in a few different places. So I think we're getting close. Looks like on these tines it's kind of rainbowing a little bit. See if we can see the rainbowy bit there. Let's see what I'm talking about. All right, well, it looks like we've got our rainbowing. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off with a perfectly clean towel. Now, something else to remember is this towel, you'll never get to use it again on a car because you're wiping ceramic onto the towel, so it's going to be all crunchy. They weren't great as shop towels at this point, but right now, this can only be used once on a car. Okay, that looks really nice. Okay, well what do you think of that? It's all pretty hard to keep and capture on film, but boy, is that shiny, huh? right, well, what do you think of that? That looks really, really nice. Really shiny. Well, I think our wheel turned out great. I think it looks awesome, actually, and hopefully this will help it keep much cleaner. That's kind of the whole point is, you know, brake dust isn't going to sit in there. It'll be easy to wash out with a hose, or even just air will actually blow stuff off of it. So that's the idea. Well, I'll let you know how it turns out in the end. But one last final thing about this is that it can't be exposed to the elements for about 24 hours. So if you are going to do this, do it at a time where you're not going to be driving the car the next day. Let the car sit, if you can, for a couple of days. That would really be helpful. At this point, we just need to do the other wheel and then we can swap them. So, all right, this one's all done. Well, it's the next day. Yesterday's work went awfully late into the night. So the wheels kind of, had a few surprises with the wheels. One of them was kind of, the one I was working on before, the one I've been showing you, was not too bad, but certainly did require a decent amount of work. But the other one, once I took the other one and got started on that one, it was terrible. And I think I finally figured out what was going on. Heidi said she took a look at it and she's like, I think this thing's been refinished. She was absolutely right. So what somebody did was sprayed clear coat through the wheel, through the front of it, into the barrel, but they never cleaned the barrel. So the barrel had all the old brake dust in it. Now they've coated it with clear coat. I literally had to wet sand that thing for about 2 hours, just so carefully, back and forth with like 2,000 and 1,000 grit, back and forth, and then rebuff it out. It was awful, huge amount of work. I didn't get done till midnight, so it was quite a bit. Well, at any rate, today what I did was went ahead and start back up again and wanted to get the front wheels done. They've been completely cleaned as well from stem to stern. I went ahead and buffed them, and they've also been ceramic coated. So I think they turned out pretty good. The bells back there were pretty good, not too bad at all actually. So these weren't that much work. Now this may seem like an awful lot of fuss just to get a nice clean rim, but they'll be quite a bit easier to keep clean, which is really nice. But take a look at this. Now this is the front left wheel. And do you see this? It's really hard to see, but I can definitely feel it running my finger over it. This wheel was pranged right here, this way. And there's still a little bit of a bend in the rim here. And I'm going to have to take that down, I suppose, and get that fixed at some point. The tire does hold air, but yee. But that's what I like about doing a full detail on the cars. You find all sorts of things. The rear wheels have been refinished. These wheels look like the original finish, but it's a little hard to tell. But finding that was important. I'd rather get that fixed sooner than later. Reinstalling the rear wheels, just the reverse of taking them off. And after the car was settled back down, I went ahead and retorqued the lug bolts in the back. Then up front, what I wanted to do was a little bit of cleaning, but also more importantly, some inspection work there. Looking for anything that was broken, any frame damage, anything like that up there. And it all looked really, really good. I looked at everything I could see underneath there. It's a neat opportunity when you have all that open. Then I went ahead and polished that front hub a little bit. There was some corrosion there, so I'm also using some Never Sees so that there isn't any type of corrosion welding or corrosion bonding there at all. Then went ahead and reinstalled all of the lug bolts again with a teeny bit of Never Sees on them. And once the car is lowered down, I'm able to torque each one of the bolts to 105 pound-feet. All right, well that's pretty much it. Hope you really enjoyed this. I know it's kind of a silly episode just to swap out a couple of wheels, but we did go through the whole fuss of detailing them and inspecting them, and sure enough, we found a little bend in one of the rims, so I'm gonna have to take that out and get it fixed. So also gave us a chance to inspect all the suspension parts around the front and in the back as well. And you know, since we bought this car used, you don't know if there's really, I mean, it doesn't always show up on Carfax if there's any real damage. So it's always a good idea to look underneath there, look for brand new shiny parts that shouldn't be there, bent, crumpled metal, redone crummy welds, that sort of thing. So this car looked great. Everything looks fine. So that lets me sleep a little bit better at night. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below and I'll get right to them. Thanks so much, and a special thank you as always to our Patreon supporters. All right, so lots more episodes on the i8 coming up, and I even posted some stuff to Instagram as well while I was working on this stuff last night. So if you want to kind of get in on stuff as I'm doing it, then go ahead and hook up with our Instagram and follow us, and now I'll post pictures and stuff as I'm doing stuff. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, safe travels. Bye.